The German Shepherd refused to move until the officer noticed the cane it was carrying. Its eyes were desperate, its bark almost human. When the officer finally followed it into the forest, he had no idea he was about to uncover a story that would touch the hearts of millions. Before we start, make sure to hit like and subscribe. And really, I'm curious, where are you watching from? Drop your country name in the comments. I love seeing how far our stories travel. It was a quiet afternoon on the outskirts of town. Officer Daniel had been patrolling the back roads. The calm was almost hypnotic, till something darted across the road. He slammed the brakes. A large German Shepherd stood in the middle of the lane, chest heaving, eyes locked on him. Daniel frowned. "What are you doing out here, boy?" he muttered, stepping out of the car. Then he saw the dog was holding something in its mouth. A cane, old wooden, the kind someone's grandfather might use. The animal dropped it at Daniel's feet and barked sharply, backing up a few steps, as if urging him to follow. Daniel looked around. No sign of anyone nearby. The woods were eerily still. Something about the dog's behavior felt intentional. It wasn't just lost, it was trying to tell him something. Daniel hesitated for a moment, glancing down at the cane lying on the ground. The dog barked again, louder. This time and took a few quick steps backward, tail low, eyes pleading. It clearly wanted him to follow. "All right, buddy, show me what's going on," Daniel murmured, grabbing his flashlight and radio. He called for backup, but only static filled the line. They were too far from the main signal tower. Still, something deep inside told him this was important. He couldn't just walk away. The German Shepherd turned and started down a narrow dirt path leading into the forest. Daniel followed closely, his boots crunching on the gravel. Sunlight filtered through the trees in long golden streaks, and the air grew cooler. Quieter, every few seconds, the dog looked back to make sure Daniel was still there, then hurried forward again. Its movements were desperate, urgent. The deeper they went, the stronger Daniel's unease grew. He had no idea where this trail led, but one thing was certain now. This dog wasn't wandering aimlessly. It was leading him somewhere. Or to someone. The forest grew denser with every step, the sunlight fading behind thick branches. The only sounds were Daniel's steady breathing and the soft crunch of leaves under his boots. The German Shepherd moved ahead quickly, nose close to the ground, tail flicking with nervous energy. Suddenly, Daniel spotted something, a scrap of fabric caught on a thorn bush. He reached out and tugged it free. It was part of a flannel shirt, torn at the edge and smeared with dirt. His pulse quickened. Someone had been through here recently. He swept his flashlight along the ground. Footprints fresh, ones led deeper into the woods. But something about them wasn't right. One set was uneven, dragging slightly, as if the person had been injured. The dog barked sharply and sprinted ahead, disappearing behind a cluster of trees. Daniel followed, ducking under low branches until he reached a small clearing. The dog stood still now, its body trembling. It barked once more, then looked back at Daniel with pleading eyes. That's when he saw it, something lying motionless just beyond the tall grass. Daniel's breath caught in his throat as he pushed through the grass. Lying there, half hidden beneath fallen leaves, was an elderly man. His clothes were torn, his skin pale, and one leg bent at an unnatural angle. A faint groan escaped his lips, barely audible over the wind. The German Shepherd rushed to his side, whining softly and nudging the man's limp hand. Then, almost protectively, it lay beside him, eyes flicking between Daniel and its owner as if begging him to help. Daniel dropped to his knees. "Sir, can you hear me?" he shouted, checking for a pulse. It was weak, but there. Relief washed over him for a split second before panic took hold again. The man's breathing was shallow, his lips dry and cracked. "Hang in there," Daniel whispered, grabbing his radio. "Dispatch, this is Officer 12, medical emergency in Sector 9. Elderly male, possible fracture and dehydration need, paramedics now." Static answered him again. No signal. He was on his own. The dog pressed its head against the man's chest, letting out a low, mournful whine. Daniel looked at the loyal animal, and then at the helpless figure before him. He knew he had to act fast. It would be too late. Daniel's hands trembled slightly as he reached for his first aid kit. The man's pulse was fading fast, and every shallow breath made Daniel's chest tighten. He tore off his jacket and gently placed it beneath the man's head, trying to keep him warm. "Stay with me, sir," he murmured. "Help's coming." The German shepherd paced anxiously in circles, whining and licking the old man's hand. It looked up at Daniel with wide, desperate eyes, as if begging him to hurry. Daniel tried his radio again, nothing but static. He cursed under his breath, then glanced at the dog. "Go," he shouted, pointing toward the road. "Find someone. Bring help." But the dog refused to leave. Instead, it pressed closer to its owner, letting out a soft whimper that cut straight through Daniel's heart. Then, suddenly, the man's eyelids flooded open. His voice was barely a whisper. "Max, you found help." Daniel froze. Maxstat was the dog's name. The man's hand weakly brushed against the dog's fur before going limp again. Panic surged through Daniel as he felt for a pulse still there, but faint. He had minutes, maybe less, to get them both out of the woods alive. Hours later. At the hospital, Daniel sat in the hallway, his uniform stained with dirt and sweat. Max lay beside him on the floor, head resting between his paws, eyes fixed on the emergency room doors. The silence was heavy, each minute, stretching like an eternity. Finally, a doctor stepped out, removing his gloves. "You got him here just in time," he said, his tone both amazed and gentle. He had a severe fracture and dehydration. Another hour out there, and he didn't finish the sentence. Daniel exhaled, shoulders slumping with relief. "What about the dog?" he asked softly. The doctor smiled faintly. "He's been by his side since the moment we brought them in. We had to let him stay. He wouldn't move." Later, when the old man finally woke, his voice was weak but clear. "I fell yesterday," he said, tears welling in his eyes. "Couldn't move. Max stayed with me all night when I told him to find help. He took my cane and left." Daniel felt a lump in his throat. The dog hadn't just found help, it had understood. That simple act of love had saved its owner's life. A few days later, Daniel returned to the hospital. The old man was sitting up in bed, a smile lighting his tired face. Max lay beside him, tail thumping softly against the floor. "He never gave up on me," the man said, his eyes glistening. Daniel knelt and scratched Max behind the ears. "You're a real hero, buddy," he whispered. The dog licked his hand, eyes full of quiet pride. Sometimes, heroes don't wear badges or uniforms, they walk on four paws and carry love stronger than fear. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more stories that prove love can save lives.